Alright guys, these are the notes on ellipses, which apparently is the correct plural, and circles. We are honestly not going to talk much about circles today, except for the difference between a circle and ellipse, because we already covered circles. Alright, as we demonstrated, this ellipse is all the points where the sum of the distance from each focal point is congruent. Now, this picture isn't my favorite because it's hard to tell which way it's going, but if we have something stretched out this way, it has a center point. The longer axis from end to end is called the major axis and has vertices at either end. If it's shorter going this way, that's called the minor axis, and these endpoints are called co-vertices, like lesser important vertices, I guess. The foci are always on the major or longer axis. Okay? And in our class, in this book, the distance along the major axis here from one vertex to the other is going to be 2a. So this distance from the center to here is a. The distance up and down to the co-vertice on this picture anyway is b. That will change if it's long and skinny the other way, or, you know, the ellipse is vertical. And c is the distance from the focus to the center. All right. So you have this picture, but you also have this on your notes. All right. What is the difference between these two? Can anybody tell? Besides the picture? Yes. They are going to go with A is always the greater number. Okay, they're going to say A is always greater than B. So whatever the greater distance is tells you which way the major axis. If the greater or bigger number is under X, it goes longer in the X direction. If the bigger number is under Y, then it goes longer in the Y direction. Does that seem okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm not going to make you state all of this when we do these. The ones I would like you to be able to always, not be able to, but to actually identify on your homework will be the center, the foci, the vertices, and the co-vertices, okay? You don't have to write all this other stuff. Now you're going to have to find C in order to be able to find the foci here, but those are what you need to identify when you do this. Does that make sense? Like on a parabola, how you always had to identify the directrix, the focus, the vertex, and the book made us do axis of symmetry, right? But those are the things I'm going to ask you to do here. All right, the relationship to find C is important. Notice this is not Pythagorean theorem. Okay? It's a squared minus b squared equals c squared. Tomorrow or the next day when we do hyperbolas are going to have a minus in the middle here, and then you're actually going to add the a squared and b squared. When it's a plus in the middle here, you subtract the a squared and the b squared. And it has to do with the fact that the foci are inside. Does that make sense, guys? That a squared, if that's the major axis, it has to be the longest one of all. So that the foci stay inside, you're subtracting. All right. I don't want to do this example first. I'm going to actually start with this one with you. Can we look at this example? It's at the very bottom of your notes page. I want to do this one together first because the center is just where? Yeah, the center is just at 0, 0. There's no shifting left or right. Okay, here's the center. Now, I need to go how many units in the y direction? Yes, because this is a squared is 16, so a is 4. And b squared is going to be 9, so b is going to be 3. And I know which way those go because these are underneath the y, so I'm going 4 units in the y direction. And these are counting by 2s, okay? And in the x direction, I'm going to go 3 units from the center. Now, what are those points called? It's pretty bad. Potato-looking ellipse. Which was the major axis? Up and down or across on this one? Yes, this is a vertical ellipse. It's up and down. So the endpoints of that are the vertices. So where are those vertices, guys? We went 4 units in the y direction. So we'd have 0 and plus or minus 4. Everybody okay? In the x direction, it went how far right here? 3. So we'd have to add that to the x, so we'd have plus or minus 3, 0. And those are called the co-vertices. Okay, we graphed it. We found the center, the vertices, the co-vertices. What are the other weird thing we have to find? Yes, the foci. Okay? And the foci are a squared minus b squared equals c squared. Now, is a 16? A squared is 16. Everybody okay? This is already squared. So this is going to be 16 minus b squared is 9. So c squared is 7. C is the square root of 7. It is plus or minus. It's a distance actually, so we'd say c is the distance out from the center. Now it's going on along the major axis, so that's which way? The center was at 0, 0, and this is going along the major axis, which was y, so we're going to add it onto the y. So we'll have 0 and plus or minus square root of 7, which is somewhere between 2 and 3, right? So the foci are somewhere in there. Okay, 2.6 plus or minus 2.6. Are we okay? Right. Unfortunately, they quickly get harder. I don't think they're that complicated, especially because you get to use your pink sheet. Okay? This one is also on the front of the notes, I think. Yes? Yeah. Okay. This time, where's the center? Be careful. This is y minus k and x minus h. So the center is at hk, which is actually what? Yes, -2, +1. Now they're counting by 2's, so -2, +1 is here. All right. A is the greater number, so this is a squared here, and this one is b squared. So, let me go through how they got all these answers over here for us. To find the ends of the major axis, they took the vertex, and it went 5 units out in the y direction. Everybody get where I'm putting that under y? Because it's under y here. So I'm going to plus or minus 5 here. So they have -2, 6, and -2, -4 for the endpoints of the major axis. That make sense? Now, how did they find these co-vertices? Anybody tell me what they did?
Regardless A and B.
Okay, they said b is 3, right? Because b squared was 9, but they added that onto what? Yeah, it's underneath the x, so they added plus or minus 3 onto this one. So that's where we got -5, 1, and 1, 1. Everybody okay? Yep. All right, where are the foci at? How do we find the foci? A squared minus b squared. What's 25 minus 9?
16.
So c is plus or minus 4, or a distance of +4 in either direction. On which one, though? The x or the y?
Y.
Yes, it's on the major axis. So it's -2 plus or minus 4, 1. Again, I'm adding that onto the center. So what are those points equivalent to?
0, 2, 5,
Nope. The foci are, I just put it on the wrong number.
Yeah.
You might be totally right. Tyler, it's on the X, right? Sorry. It's negative 2, 1, and it should be added onto the Y, because the major axis is the Y. All right, let me try again. So you said negative 2, 5, and negative 2, negative 3? You were totally correct, and I was wrong. I wrote it wrong, so then I confused myself. Negative 2 up to 5 would be up here, and negative 2, negative 3 would be down here. The closer out to the ends of the major axis, the longer and skinnier the ellipse will be. The closer in towards the center that those focus points are, the rounder it will be. Everybody okay? All right, let's try one together, and then I'm going to ask you to do these next two. If it helps you, write x minus h, y minus k. It does always have to have a plus in the middle if it's an ellipse. Tomorrow there will be a minus in the middle, but be a hyperbola, or the next day. And it always has to equal 1. Okay? This means A is what? 8 in the x direction. And this means B is 5 in the y direction because it's underneath the y. All right, can you tell me where the center is? The center's at HK, which would be negative 5, negative 2. Good job. All right, and then it goes out 8 units which way? Left and right, because that's under the X. Remember, we're counting by 2s, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and 8. Now, how can we find those ordered pairs other than looking at the graph paper? Those went out in the direction added and subtracted onto which number?
Onto negative 5.
Yes, the X. So the vertices are actually at negative 5 plus or minus 8, comma negative 2. Okay, don't leave it like that unless there's a square root, and then you can leave it. But what are the actual ordered pairs for those?
Negative 13, negative 2, and 3.
Does that seem okay with what we graphed? All right, what about the co-vertices? That's the B business, so we're going to plus or minus 5, but it's below which one? The Y. So we're going to do negative 5, comma, negative 2 plus or minus 5, which will become what? Negative 5, negative 7, and negative 5, 3. Does that seem right? We're supposed to be going up and down 5. Okay. Mine's a little pointy at one end. What have I not done that I have to do?
We need a foci. Sorry.
Yeah, we need the foci. All right. And a squared minus b squared equals c squared. So we have 64 minus 25 equals c squared, which is 39 maybe? So c is the square root of 39. And is that added onto the x or the y of the center? It's in the x direction. So if the center was at negative 5, negative 2, the foci would be at negative 5 plus or minus square root of 39, negative 2. Now, you could change those to decimals if you want to do a halfway accurate job. What do you think the square root of 39 is going to be approximately? 6 point something? It's greater than 36, right? So we're going a little over 6, 2, 4, 6 out this way. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . And when it's a square root, you can leave it like this. I don't find a lot of value in rewriting square root of 39 comma negative 2 and negative 5 minus square root of 39 negative 2, because it doesn't mean anything to me either way, right? If it's nice numbers, you should rewrite it. Any questions? Anything seem confusing so far? Okay. I want you to work on 2 and 3, but I want you to tell me the difference between 2 and 3 first of all. 3 and 4. Yeah, 3 and 4. You're right. Sorry. What is the difference between 3 and 4? Okay. On number 4, it's going to be longer going up and down, right? Yeah. And on 3, it's going to be longer going across. All right. Work on these. Talk to people near you. See what you get. Write down what you need to. Use your pink sheet. How are we doing on number 3? Did I do anything wrong? Everybody got those same answers? We okay on 3? If you disagree with anything, let me know. You want to know how I got anything, let me know. You all right? Josh, did you have a question? No? Okay. I always get the center wrong on these. When they switch the order, it messes me up. HK is what, guys? We okay? Anybody question, lost, confused? The parabolas are pretty sweet. Not too tricky. Katie, you good? Okay. I didn't know if you were looking because you had a question you didn't want to ask, or you're all good? All right. The other thing on today's assignment is determining what kind of conic we have. Okay? We're going to have to complete this square probably twice, sometimes only once, to come up with a kind of conic. Now, what is this one, guys?
Parabola.
Okay, this is a parabola. Remember when it has either the x squared or the y squared, but not both? Does that sound familiar? Okay. What's this one? Okay, this was a circle because there's no coefficients. When we have coefficients that are different, like 4 and 9, and there's a plus in here, I'm thinking it's probably going to be an ellipse. Okay? What's the trick to getting ellipse in the right form? It has to equal what at the end? Has to be a big old equals 1. Okay? When it has a plus in between here, it's going to be an ellipse. Tomorrow, or the next day, we're going to do ones with a minus in between here, and then it's going to be a hyperbola. Okay? This is an ellipse, and this is a hyperbola. All right, but today I don't think you're going to find any hyperbolas. All right. You have this one done for you, so all you got to do is watch me. I'm going to move the x's together and move the y's together. And I'm going to move that constant over to the other side. Then I'm going to factor out the 4 and put in a blank because I'm going to complete the square. On these two, I'm going to take out the 9 because I need the y squared to have a coefficient of 1. Now, this is where students struggle. When you complete the square here, whoops, half of this 6 is a 3, and when you square it, you get a 9. But remember, there was a 4 out here, okay? It's still there. So 4 times 9, or 36, is going to get added over here. I'm going to just write 4 times 9. Just remember where that came from. Now, there's still a 9 out here. We're just completing the square on this. So you do y minus 2. Square that and you get 4. What do we have to add over there this time? 9 times 4. Okay? So we get negative 36 plus 36 plus another 36, which would be what? 36. Now, at that point, some of you might have said it's a circle. What's wrong with it being a circle? It's got some stretches in different directions, right? It shouldn't have those numbers there if it's a circle. So if it's not a circle, we need to divide everything by what? We got to make that a 1 over there. So we're going to end up with x plus 3 squared. 4 goes into 36 how many times? 9. Plus y minus 2 squared over 9 goes into 36 4 times, and over here 36 over 36 is 1. So which kind is this? Which conic? It is an ellipse. And the center is at what? Negative 3, 2. And would this be longer horizontally or vertically? Yeah, it would be a horizontal one. All right. All you have to write is ellipse, and if you would write the center, that would be good practice, but I'm not going to make you do all the rest. All right. What are you thinking when you see this one? Circle? Okay. Does have x squareds and y squareds. Do you want to rearrange it or just leave it? It doesn't matter the order. If we rearrange it and take the 6 out, because we have a coefficient here, we'd have 6 times x squared what? Minus 4x plus blank. Everybody okay with where I got that? I took the 6 out of both of those. Then I have a y squared plus 2y plus blank, and I didn't need to take anything out because y squared had a coefficient of 1. Over here I have a 5 plus a red blank, and now a blue blank. Okay. What do I get up here? Still have a 6, and then I have x minus half of this is 2. When I square it, I put a 4 here, which becomes what when I add it over to the other side? 6 times 4 is 24. And you can write it as a 24. I'm just writing 6 times 4 so you remember where it came from in your notes. The blue is y plus half of this would be 1. 1 squared is what? Not 2. It's 1. There was no coefficient other than 1, so we're just adding a 1 over here. Okay, 6 times 4 is 24 plus 5 plus 1 is 30. Oh, that's weird. Is it a circle? Because of this 6 out here, it's been stretched, okay? So it's not a circle. If we divide everything by 30, it's not going to come out real pretty. But we'd have x minus 2 squared over 5. Y plus 1 squared over 30 equals 1. What shape is that? An ellipse, and its center is HK is at 2, negative 1. It's actually longer in the y direction, right? So it would be a vertical ellipse. Everybody okay? All right. Can you try number 6? Any factoring out of coefficients? Does it have both an x squared and a y squared?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's what shape?
Circle.
Probably a circle. Half of this squared. Half of this squared, and we get
Y plus 1 squared plus x minus 12 squared equals 159.
Anybody else get that lovely number? Okay. What are we going to write?
Circle.
It is a circle. And what do you usually tell me about a circle? Center is at, whoops. The center is at 12, negative 1, and the radius would be square root of 159. 12 point something. Good enough? Is that your guess? Were you right? Good job. All right. What do you think about this one?
Parabola.
Parabola, because it doesn't have an x squared. It only has an x and then a y squared. These are actually the hardest for students to complete the square on sometimes. Okay? Y squared plus 4y plus blank And I'm going to move everything else that isn't having the square completed on it over to the other side. So I have a negative 4x and a plus 8 plus that 0 that was already there. Everybody okay with what I did? We did some of these last week, but not very many. And there was one on the quiz, and it kind of stumped a couple of you. Okay, completing the square here gives me half of 4y is 2, squared is a 4. So I have a negative 4x plus 12. This isn't really the form that they gave us. Do you remember? If we have y minus k squared, this is usually plain old x minus h, no squared, my bad. And then this helped us find the focus at 4p. So what do we want to do here? Take out a negative 4? Which makes this x minus 3. It is a parabola, and where is the vertex?
Vertex is at 3, negative 2.
HK would be 3, negative 2, and it would open sideways because it's a y squared, and it's got a negative, so to the left. Yep, good job. Is there one more?
Yeah.
I don't have this one for some reason, and I remember this and I forgot to fix it. Anybody want to read it to me?
4x squared plus 8x plus 5y squared times 30y minus 11.
Okay. Somebody want to come and put it on the board? Always eager, Miguel. We'll do it up here. You guys do it on your paper, see if you can beat him. What do you think it's going to be? I would go with ellipse because there's coefficients and they're not the same. Once in a while there can be coefficients and it'd be a circle with an x squared and a y squared, but they would have to both be the same number. It's going to be square. Actually, we're going to draw rectangles when we do hyperbolas.
Oh, that's number 4.
Is it number 8?
I didn't know. You wrote it up there. I didn't know it was on the table.
So down here we're gonna have 21. Did I screw that up somehow?
I don't know. I'm kind of confused.
Well, that's a 2, sorry.
You didn't multiply when you brought over the.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, that's right. Tyler's right. I didn't multiply down here, so I did do it right. Just that I could get multiply down here.
Okay, keep going.
So it's right here. This would be 4, and then 5 by 45. 45. Oh, I don't know. 1560. So we get 4x plus 1 squared plus 5 y minus 3
Guys, did you finish this one up? Okay. And the bookwork is at the bottom? The first 6 are graphing. 25 through 31 are this completing the square business. And 39 through 42 are writing the equation, but from a picture, so it's pretty easy. Okay, tomorrow we'll do some more writing equations and we'll do some applications.
5 divided by 16 was
12, that,
12.
yeah, that one's 12. Okay. Whoa, I don't know what I did. So it is an ellipse whose center is at -1, 3.